What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioWest 3 Raw TV. What you see above you, the title, the Ninth Ward. Now, what does that mean? Well, first of all, it was kind of a thing that was kind of brought to me about titling this when I was actually talking about Instagram about it, about how I was having a hard time getting into rehab facilities as well as schools to talk to kids and people in general that have addiction problems about getting clean. Now, why? First of all, let's go with the Ninth Ward thing. The Ninth Ward refers to me. My name is Jerry Ward, and I'm on my ninth life, okay? Through the life that I've lived, through drugs and the things that I've done, I'm on my ninth life. So you guys have the Ninth Ward. That's what you guys get now. Now, why have I not gotten into these schools and stuff? I've gone to schools. I've gone to rehab facilities about talking to people and telling them about my story. And my story is one of being addicted to heroin and getting clean and staying clean for over 15 years. And when I was actually in rehab, we never had anybody that was positive. There's always people telling us that we weren't going to make it. We had a very high chance of a relapse, that we had a 0.0001 chance of ever staying clean, etc., etc. And I never could understand why there was nobody super positive, and they never brought anybody in there that was like a special guest speaker that literally had made it. And, you know, I didn't put two and two together till recently, and I realized that maybe these people, honestly, and this is my personal opinion, maybe they just really don't want people to get well. Maybe they want them to stay in this program and be on methadone or Suboxone for the rest of their life, pay the money, and they don't want them to get well. They don't want them to have hope. They don't want them to see. And I know this sounds awful, but it's the only reason that I can rationalize that they wouldn't want someone to donate their free time who's actually made it and has been in the person that, in those people's shoes that they're going to talk to and show them that there is hope. You know, it's one thing for a counselor to tell you. It's another thing for a person to stand there, look you in the eye, and tell you, I did it. And if I did it because I'm an average person just like you, then you can do it. And I kind of stepped back and I was like, you know, I'm not really sure what to do at this point. I've offered my services. I've contacted rehab facilities. I've made plans to go to schools. Everyone was just kind of like, you know, no thanks. And I'm like, really? With the drug epidemic that's happening with opiates all across this nation, you don't want somebody to come in and tell people that there's a way to get off it and that you can be successful and you can be productive in society and be a normal human being again? Why wouldn't you want to send that message? And it falls on deaf ears. So what I decided to do is take it upon myself with the help of some of my viewers who said, you know what, Jerry, just go on your YouTube channel and do it yourself. Take it upon yourself, take the bull by the horns and do it yourself and put the word out there yourself. So I may not be able to get to that 40 or 50 people in the rehab, but hopefully thousands will see this video. And many of you already know my story, but this is for you guys, okay? The Ninth Ward is going to be a video series about trying to understand, reach out and help whoever needs it right now at this point. I make nothing for this. It's not like I'm being told to do this by anybody. It's something I feel super passionately about and I feel extremely, extremely strongly about. I guess that's pretty much the same thing. But I really want to get this message across. So without further ado, we'll start with my story in case you've never seen it. So hopefully I'll have new viewers seeing this that haven't seen it. I grew up in Little, Rhode Island, which is the smallest state in the entire country. And Warren, Rhode Island, which is one of the smallest towns. There was like 40 kids in my graduating class. There was like 200 in the whole school, grades 8 through 12. And, you know, drug addiction wasn't really like a super big thing there. It just wasn't. But, you know, lo and behold, drugs infiltrated our town just like everywhere else. And it started with, you know, popping a couple painkillers here and there. I drank throughout high school at parties and stuff. I didn't just drink like on my own. It would be at a party socially. I smoked marijuana for the first time at 13. Socially, it was like party stuff. Nothing I really had any issue with. It was just like what people did there in the small town. And then popping a few painkillers when I was a little bit older, you know, take a couple painkillers, go to a bar, have a few drinks, whatever. Proceeded to become a professional wrestler. I got injured professional wrestling. I got hooked on a drug called Nubane that all the bodybuilders and many of the wrestlers were using at the time, which is a synthetic morphine. It's injectable. So I kind of graduated from painkillers to injectable synthetic morphine, which they give to women in labor. So I rationalized, if they give it to a woman with a baby, why it can't be that bad for me. Yeah, well, the psychological and physical dependency is extremely, you know, bad on this substance. When that substance ran out because it was a pharmaceutical that would eventually, you know, not be able to go to the back door anymore of the pharmacies and stuff, OxyContin. It was being overprescribed like crazy. It was easy to get your hands on, expensive, but easy to get your hands on. And that flowed very freely. It wasn't long before I wasn't just taking the pill. I was sniffing it. I was shooting it, injecting it. I was shooting cocaine when I couldn't get OxyContins. Things got really wild for a little bit until finally we just couldn't get the OxyContins, and they were about $120 a pill. Heroin. Heroin was $5 a bag. It was cheap. It was easily accessible, and I knew the people where to get it. Like, you know, that's one thing about that life is you You learn to be resourceful. You find ways to get what you need. I mean, if you could take the energy and time and resources that you have being a drug addict and apply those to the rest of your life, pay attention to what I'm saying, you would be extremely successful at anything you do. Now, that being said, just remember, if you're watching this and you have a drug problem, the skills that you're learning that are bad right now will help you in the future. I know. Now, after being hooked on heroin, some of my friends were dying. A lot of my friends were getting locked up. I knew this is it. Like, I'm going in one of those directions, and I said, I've had enough. Like, literally, I was running out of money. My wife at the time was addicted. Like, it was just a complete mess. And I said, enough is enough. I have to go to rehab. I couldn't get into an intake place that was an inpatient rehab. They had to wait. So I found an outpatient rehab with the help of my mom. She actually found it, called the Addiction Recovery of Rhode Island, ARI. And I went in there, and, I had an amazing counselor who took, no shit. He was a straightforward, laced guy, and, he basically was just like, here's your odds. You can either do it or not. He was a former priest, and, I mean, I really, really respected him, and I look back now, and I think that he really got me to understand a lot of things about myself and things that I needed to heal from in order to realize why I was doing drugs. And that's exactly what happened. There were things that happened to me in my past as a child, as an early adult, that I could not deal with or cope with, and I was medicating myself specifically to not feel those things. So that's my backstory. I walked in an inpatient rehab in ARI. I literally was 230 pounds, looked like a bodybuilder, was a totally functioning drug addict, competitive bodybuilder, had 2 jobs. Everything was, normal on the outside. However, I was addicted to heroin. They put me on methadone. I didn't detox because I was on methadone. I was on methadone for a while. I don't remember exactly how long, maybe a year and a half. Transitioned from methadone to Suboxone. And I was supposed to be on Suboxone for the rest of my life. That was the plan. That's what they were telling me. I moved away I moved from Rhode Island to Maryland. And I didn't want to be on the Suboxone. I didn't want to be controlled by a drug or anything else any longer. So I tapered myself off of the Suboxone, stopped taking it. Didn't really have a withdrawal because I tapered off for so long. Had like a little transition period of a few weeks, but I was still able to tough it through, get off of it, and continue working as a personal trainer in D.C., Washington, D.C. And after that, I was free. I was free off the drugs. I was free from the pills. I was free from everything. I was just me. It was like starting over from scratch. So that's my story. Now, where did I end up? If you Google my name, Jerry Ward or BioS3 Training, or Jerry Ward Bodybuilder, BioS3 Training, it'll pop up in Google. I have, the online and in-person training businesses. I have a clothing company right now. I'm the face of a supplement company called Primeval Labs. Everything is going really well, and the YouTube thing I've been doing for about 5 or 6 years now, about 6 years now. And that's grown to a pretty large scale where I get to interact with whoever's watching this when they come see me at these expos that I get to fly all over the world now to go to do these things. And I still haven't relapsed. I still haven't taken a hit of anything. I've had a few drinks here and there, which was really not the funnest thing in the world, but I didn't get drunk. I was just drinking because it was social and turned out to be something that I really didn't even enjoy anymore. And once you break through that and you're happy with your life and you're being consistently productive and things are on the up and up every day, you no longer want to impair yourself because you don't want to miss out on anything because your life is great. I mean, plain and simple. And this sounds like a very, like one of those lines that they tell you, so cliche, but it's absolutely true. So here I am now, 15 years clean, no relapses, the face of a company, traveling internationally, and it all really hinged on that one day where I woke up and said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And the odds were stacked against me. People told me I was going to fail. There was no one there to really tell me I can do this and it's going to be okay. But for you guys right now wondering if it's going to be okay, it will. Like, all you have to do is just do it. Plain and simple. That's it. It's hard work. That's all it boils down to. It's mind over matter. It's willpower. It's hard work. And it's how bad do you want to be successful? How bad do you want to get off of that leash, that noose that's around your neck that is the drug or alcohol or whatever that you're on? Now, that's my story. So I kind of want to go through a little bit of facts and talk about some things, and we'll figure out where this series is going to go from there. So the addiction, the actual definition of addiction, I'm going to read it right off here, is it's a noun. It's the fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity. Okay, so you could be addicted to bodybuilding. You could be addicted to drugs. You could be addicted to sex. You could be addicted to movies. I mean, you could be addicted to a lot of things. And it's dependency, habit, problems. When those things become a problem, so if you're a video game player, you play video games for 20 hours a day and you lost your job and your wife left you and stuff because you're playing video games, you probably have an addiction to video games. As stupid as that sounds, but that's just a fact. But bottom line is, addiction is not something that just happens to people that are down and out and they're scumbags and they're low lifes and they're not worth anything. Addiction right now in this country is a huge thing, and it is hitting a lot of people from all different directions, and especially the opiate epidemic. It is just off the chain wild all over the place. And in order to get a hold of this thing, everybody can preach, everybody can try to do their part, but it's you. It's you that has the problem. I have to accept that I have a problem. I need to fix this, and then literally take the first step. What am I going to do to fix this? Sit down and take the first step. What's that first step? That's for you to decide. But there is a first step, and you have to figure out what that is. Now, I'm going to run through a few things like, what is an addiction? We already talked about that. What is a common cause of substance abuse? Okay, I'm reading this off little notes that I have here because this is totally new for me. So what is a common cause? Now, here's the deal. There is always a root cause of why someone has a substance abuse problem. Nobody's out there abusing substances and partying and just going nuts and living this lifestyle where it's destructive and it's ruining their health and they're losing everything that they've ever loved because it's fun. Okay, it may start out as fun because you're at a party or you try something and you're like, oh, that feels pretty good. And then you're like, oh, I'll just do that on the weekend or whatever. And then you realize like whatever problems you had during the week, when you get to the weekend, you're excited for the weekend because you can't wait to make those problems go away. And that substance is responsible for making them go away. So therefore, you have these substances on the weekends that you play with and you're completely free, your mind is free, your body's free. Then Monday comes and it's like, oh, you get the kind of, the post-party depression that comes in and you're like, oh, I got to go back to work. I got to deal with this, I got to deal with that, I got to go back to school. And then many times what happens is you start doing it maybe in the middle of the week. Maybe Wednesday you have the day off from work. So you start doing the drug then, just to have that day to clear your mind. I got a day off. I just want to chill out. I want to enjoy myself. I want to decompress. Very easy to rationalize how these things happen. And then it's like, well, you know what? I can't really sleep, so I'm going to do this to sleep because it'll clear my mind to sleep. It'll help me relax. I'll forget about things. Then you're doing it, all day on the weekends, all day on Wednesday, every night before bed. And then it doesn't take long before it kind of melts over into your normal life where you're like, well, if I do it in the morning, I cannot be worried all day and I'll be better off like that. So I'm just going to do that. And then you wind up doing it all day, at night before you go to bed, or maybe in the morning, maybe at bed, all day Wednesday, all day on the weekends, all night on the weekends, whatever. And next thing you know, you have a chemical dependency. And they're usually the root cause of that is life stress. Could be during the week, jobs, relationships, kids, financial problems. It could be stuff like that. Many times it stems from something in childhood, whether you saw your mother be beaten, whether your father was an alcoholic and he beat you, whether you were raped, whether you were molested, there's so many reasons and things that can cause you to bury those feelings and you don't really know you have them. That's the problem. You think you have everything figured out when you don't, and you're carrying this around on your shoulders. Now, I'll go into why I was, because I'm not scared of this anymore. It's another thing is to not be embarrassed about this. It takes a while to get to that point. So as a child, I was sexually assaulted. I was molested. And the way that it kind of went down, I was very upset with my parents about it going down. And I have an actual video on the Biohistory channel called My Darkest Secret if you want to hear the full story about that. I'll put the link in the description box below. And I was definitely medicating myself by drinking and stuff on the weekends. And, while I was at school and stuff, I was busy. On the weekends, though, when I'm alone, my head would be, I didn't realize I had this anxiety, like a natural anxiety, which another thing, anxiety and depression will cause you to medicate yourself too. Bipolar disorder will cause you to medicate yourself too. I had this anxiety that I didn't know I was carrying around. And when this is 2001, my cousin Christopher, who is the closest person to me, which is a video up about that too, was killed in a drunk driving accident. That led me to spiral out of control. Having the molestation as a kid and the drunk driving accident compounded, it was too much pain. And to erase that pain is why I started doing the drugs, and that's where the drug habit started. But it was a compound of something in childhood, something in adulthood. Neither one were dealt with properly. And that's a big key to getting sober and staying clean, is to be dealing with these things and have the tools to learn that when these things pop up, you don't just self-destruct. You use these things as learning lessons and you decide how to deal with them, and everything is a choice. Every time I picked up a needle to put in my arm was a choice. Whether it was, well, I just don't want to be sick. That's an excuse. I don't want to be ill. That's an excuse. Although it's a real thing, it's an actual real thing that you don't want to be sick from withdrawal, it's still an excuse. So bottom line is, with these addictions come pain, come a breaking down process, a rebuilding process, kind of like the dragon and the phoenix. The phoenix rises from the ashes. That's what you're going to be when you're done doing this. But the first step has to be you going, this is not me. I'm doing this for a reason. Like, I'm not doing this. It's not fun anymore. What the hell am I doing? And you figuring out, okay, first of all, I need to just get off the drug and have a clear head, which is a hard part, right? You don't want to detox. You don't want to go through this. If you're going to go through the pain, because you've probably gone through it before, you know what it is. So you just kind of continue this Groundhog Day where you wake up every day and you find drugs and you do things to get money and you use the drugs and you hope that you're comfortable enough to sleep that night and that you're well enough to sleep, and you get up in the morning and you're in withdrawals and you start it all over again. And the act of that and the actual pain and anxiety and everything that comes with that is enough. You can deal with that because the actual fear of going withdrawals and how painful that is enough to keep you on that merry-go-round, that hamster wheel, over and over again, going through all that pain day in, day out, because you're scared of those withdrawals. So the first thing is to get yourself to a place where you can be well and not have withdrawals. Get the clear head and then start to chip away. Start to take brick by brick out of the wall till that wall is literally a pile of bricks and there is no more wall there, until you can see what was behind that wall and what was causing the addiction to begin with. And that is a good starting place. So I think we're going to wrap this up there for this episode. Yeah, I'm excited to be doing this. I'm looking forward to the responses. I'm looking forward to interacting with some of you. Remember, I am not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm you. I am just one of you who did the work, decided enough was enough, made it, and continued to do the work, and I want to help. So you guys got the 9th ward, and hopefully I'll be talking to you guys soon. If you guys need anything, you know where to find me. I'm Bio3, and I approve this message, and we're out.